Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Hope we meet you well after what was a restful weekend. That, of course, depends on how you're situated, where you're situated. I mean, in terms of your occupation, because there are some people that just walk right through, you know. But here we are, serious business on Monday, and our guests this morning, we got Senator Diket Plang. He's the senator representing Plateau Central Senatorial District. That might begin to send you some hints of what our conversation is going to be about. And also in the studio here, Senator Plang is joining us from his office in the National Assembly. And in studio, we have Dr. Tony Ofoyeton. He's a lawyer and Director General, International Institute of Professional Security. So I was talking about, maybe you might have caught the hint at home at what we're going to be talking about. Yep, you probably got it if you went there. Stopping the killings in Plateau State. I mean, understanding them, yes, and then stopping them. But we've been going for, what, over 20 years, over 2 decades now, with this sad news. Everybody has been speaking on it. What are the sides? And perhaps more importantly, why are we able to get to the bottom of it and then stop it? That's what we're going to, that's going to be our central question today. And so maybe, Senator Plang, could I come over to you, please, and just try and understand how you see this issue to other Nigerians. Why has this been going on for so long? Communities, people being killed, it's just the same old, same old. There's no resolution in sight. What exactly is the genesis, the bottom of this issue, Senator?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for creating time to discuss this very serious and disturbing issue on the plateau. I'm glad, and I'm sure your intention at the end of the day is probably to enable us come to a level of understanding, come to a stage where we'll be able to arrest this ugly situation within ourselves. As you all know, conflicts normally come. And as you all know, it is easy for a conflict to start, but sometimes very, very difficult for you to stop it, especially when you have a conflict that has issues to do with identity. Sometimes very difficult. And at this moment, it will be very difficult for me as a person to tell you the genesis. But all I will tell you that on the plateau, there has been a lot of clash. But the one in Central Zone, it is dated to about a few years back. I know the crisis was in the southern part of Plateau, and the crisis was in the northern part of Plateau, but the central part of Plateau, we've not witnessed this crisis in this dimension. The one in the central came up, and then the one in Mangu, so recent, but more volatile than ever expected, particularly that the Mangu local government area, one of the biggest local, most populated local government in the state, one of the most commercial local governments in the state, and one of the most agriculturally oriented local government areas in the state. It used to be a local government that have accommodated a lot of Nigerians. It has one of the biggest markets where people come from all over West Africa nationally to buy grains, particularly maize and then Irish potato that is taken in and out of this country. The crisis came in a particular community, but you all know that when a crisis comes in between 2 identities and there are reprisals, it expands. And normally, if you hear that the particular identity is in conflict with another identity, normally the reaction is reflex. The moment you see another part of that identity, you are already angry. And probably you could begin to retaliate or exchange anger. But both the new person you are seeing might be innocent. So for me, the crisis in Mangu came up, and the speed at which it expanded is unprecedented. And I would want to work more on the possibility of bringing this crisis to an end. And because I know the mind, I know they are accommodative, I know they accept all tribes, all citizens within them, but I know that probably there are misunderstandings. What we're in now is to try as much as possible to find an amicable solution so that we'll return back to what Mangu used to be. I would prefer to talk in that dimension. I'm saying so because the retaliation, reprisals will not help us. If that's why at the National Assembly, at one of our most famous sitting, I had no option than to bring it as a motion of public importance, urgent public importance. And I thank my colleagues in the Senate that really accepted my motion, supported my motions, and my prayers that followed the motion. They all agreed on my 4 prayers and even came up with an additional prayer that is very supportive to the resolution of crisis in my state. So for us as media people, for us as traditional rulers, for us as stakeholders, and for us as politicians, I think what is before us is our ability to come together and try to resolve conflict. Parties, we must resolve. We must say sorry to one another where we've gone wrong, and we must agree to forgive one another when we understand ourselves. And I pray that if this crisis, we have external, if we have people outside coming in between us for resolution, just as what the federal government is doing at the moment. I am very sure we will build trust, and this thing can come to an end. Nobody likes what is happening on the plateau. That's my speech. I know I will have a lot of questions to ask. I will try as much as possible, all of us, to understand ourselves and for peace.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Senator. One further thing before I come to my guest in studio. You talk about plateau, names like the TV, the Idoma will always come up, that the peoples, the names of those peoples. Could you, just so that we have a more complete understanding, especially for people far away from Plateau, and probably the only thing they get to know about Plateau is what they read in the newspapers. They don't live it. How do those peoples, the Tiv and the Idoma, for example, and perhaps there are any other ones, how do they figure in the conversation that we're having now? Their feelings, their attitudes. Senator, did you hear me? I believe it has, or has it frozen? Okay, we just heard Senator Diket Plang speaking there. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not, Senator. I just asked you the question: how do the TV and the Idoma, how do they figure, those peoples, how do they figure in this? Because you talked about sometimes you have a crisis over identity, people, saying they are the indigenous people and all of that kind of a thing. We're hearing about unknown soldiers. So if you can hear me, Senator, I wanted you to, after thanking you for the balanced opening overview, I wanted to know what your thoughts are on how the Idoma and, for example, the TV people figure in the ongoing situation in Plateau.
Yeah, I know that you would want me to talk about indigenship and citizenship, because in most cases you find conflict amongst citizens and indigents. But I also believe that the definition of citizens and indigents is not a conflicting conflicting definition. If amongst us, both indigents and citizens, and we respect and live mutually and understand the definition and accept the definition, constitutional definition of a citizen and also an indigent, I believe that we will live well. When I raised my motion at the National Assembly, my colleague, Senator Zam, supported, co-sponsored my motion, and he brought in their experiences in Benue. I remind you, we used to be Benue and Plateau together, and I believe that we have so many things in common. What I really want to say is that they are similar. In most cases, you discover that it is between indigents and citizens. And when there's a conflict between such, sometimes along the line, it raises a lot of anger amongst us. But I believe that Nigeria is not wrong. We are not wrong as a people to have a definition of a citizen and an indigent. My wish is that both sides should be able to respect each other as Nigerians, because we are first of all Nigerians, and we are first of all brought together by universal set called Nigeria. Our individual state or communities are subsets of the universal set Nigeria. And if we believe that as Nigerians, that we are brothers and sisters, and that we can live together because our target is a progressive country called Nigeria. And at the end of the day, at each level of government, at the state level, citizens and indigents appreciate their definitions, live by their constitutional definition, and live harmoniously together, we'll have a country that will move forward. So what I'm trying to say there is that in most cases, even in Benue, you find issue of indigents and non-indigents. In Plateau, you find indigents and non-indigents. Or otherwise, you find pastoral personalities and those that are into, and farmers. I mean, those that are into plowing the land. And sometimes you find conflict between the two of them. But I believe that both professions are right. We must have people that are into animal science. We'll have people that are into agronomy, and we'll have people that are into forestry. And all of us will reap the dividend of each profession. By the end of the day, we need to understand and appreciate each profession. Draw a line. You have a farmer who is an agronomist. You have a farmer who is an animal farmer, and he's into animal production. And you have another farmer probably who is into forestry. By the time we understand the importance of each, and we try to respect each other, and we try as much as possible to keep to our boundary of profession, we won't have the problems we have. If we understand the definition of our identities, and we respect each identity, and then we try as much as possible to live harmoniously with each other, we'll have a country called Nigeria that will be progressive in nature. But if we don't respect each other's profession, we don't respect and appreciate each other, even in terms of identity, we'll not get it right.
All right.
What I'm trying to say in summary is that most of the conflict, you have issue of identity, you have issue of profession, and you have us not respecting each other's identity, each other's profession. I think this is not right. Well, that's why when conflict starts, discover that supporters of this profession gang up together, supporters of this identity gang up together, and you begin to fight each other, and then you have reprisal attacks. And if we keep on that, Nigeria will not succeed.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator. Well.